of meditation too. As Valerie Ben mentioned, Brother Eric is shouldering lots of responsibility in Baba's work in New York. As Valerie Ben mentioned, Brother Erik is shouldering lots of responsibility. And in the middle of that, he gave us time. So I'm really we are appreciating it. Thank you, Brother Erik. I think you can start and we can mute ourselves.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Hansaben, for inviting me. And thank you all for coming and joining. And I'm hoping to engage you in some thoughts about where we're at, what we're doing, and maybe see how we want to move forward individually, together, and such like that. And Valerie, thank you for the introduction and the reminder of the topic that I'm supposed to talk about. I am quite happy to recognize the faces from Sacramento. And so I invite you, if you care to be able to respond with your face, if that is indeed something that you are proud of or unashamed of, or if you have one, because what I'd like to do is play with the idea that kind of struck me, the echo of light. And it's kind of, echo is often sound, but light is energy too, and you can reflect. And I'll have a pop quiz for all of you. Did anybody stay up late? What's today, Saturday, Friday, Thursday, and go outside? And I hope you might have had clear skies. You didn't have any fires and you didn't have any torrential rains. And I hope all of you are in good situations with nature out there. We hear lots of stuff with California and so on. But there was an eclipse of the near full moon. For me, it was between 2 and 4 in the morning. And so for you, it would have been, 11 and 1 o'clock at night. Did anybody see that? And if you're waving your hands, I am not able to see those very well, but there you go. So that would be fine. But it was interesting to see, and you can probably find articles in the paper online or wherever you see videos of the change, mostly full to just a sliver, and the colors change. And that kind of reinforces a little bit of the topic, that the light that the sun gives out is reflected. And so we can see it and we can see it again. And so there's kind of an echo of light also, because it's a wave and it's energy and it can bang off different things. And trying to use that title as an engaging hook for us to think about ourselves in the time. And the time that I'm coming out of, and where this is was asked, we did some Diwali programs. Happy Diwali to everybody, if that's what you celebrate. I hope you got some sweets, and I hope you got some new clothes, and I hope everything is going to be fine. But one of the holidays that's going on is Diwali. I did a little conversation with someone about some of the qualities of Christmas, which is coming up. And one of the things about being with the Brahma Kumaris, if you're new or old or unaware of some of these things, but we get to celebrate all the holidays. You know, a little Diwali, a little Hanukkah, light some candles, Kwanzaa's coming up. They're all memorials of light, because it is dark. I don't know how you're feeling, but it's 4:30 here, and the afternoon is dark. It's dark and it's getting cold, and obviously those things are happening. I have a wintertime problem, which sometimes is very unsettling for me, is that I do activities, I get up early, I like to meditate and full days. So sometimes I get a little in need of rest, a little break. And so I'll lie down sometimes in the afternoon. And in the winter, if I wake up at 5 o'clock, I get very confused, because I don't know if it's in the morning or in the evening. Like 5 o'clock, like, where am I? What time is it? Because it is so dark so early. I don't know if anybody else has that winter situation. it's not life altering in a great way, but it is one of those things about the calendar and the time where it's getting dark and cold. And if you are connected to the Brahma Kumaris, and you might have seen a video today, I guess it might have been last night for you, yesterday afternoon, about the Global Silence Bhakti. They're featuring the retreat centers of Peace Village in New York here and in California on Ubudhi. I hope you've all been there. I hope you've all been somewhere in the last 18 months, or we'll have a plan to go somewhere in the next few. Good luck to all of us, right? And in that, you might have seen that there was a Harmony House. It's the center that I'm connected to. And they had lots of leaves and green and yellow, and it was gorgeous, autumn. If you come today, they're all gone. Everything fell off. Everything is, moving into another season. Time moves forward. Time is changing. Time is always having that. And so we're in that time of dark, cold transitions, but there are many holidays. Diwali, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year's Eve, and they all have something to do with lights. Let's turn on the lights. Let's make it brighter. Let's somehow have that recognition. And in those festivals at this time, there's lots of, I call them rituals, but traditions is the best word, I think. And if you celebrated Diwali, you know most of these. And if you celebrate Christmas, you'll be familiar with many of them. But oftentimes it's like, ooh, we need to kind of start fresh, get things clean. There's a big part of the process to do that. Oftentimes there's company, so we want to look our best. And so we clean things up and we light things up. I know that Harmony House has all sorts of lights around it now. That was for Diwali, and we keep it through the new year. Might as well keep them up for everything. So we light up the outside, we light up the inside, and maybe some of you will decorate a tree outside or decorate a tree inside. There's something about those traditions of light and cleaning and fixing things up. And you might have some your own traditions. I know that I grew up in the Midwest United States and had this sense of celebrating Christmas. And we had a what they call a manger, and that was a place where the memorial of the birth of Jesus. In the manger, in the stable, it was some trees, and you kind of set those things up. And it was analyzed a little by myself that was a process that brought in hope, that there's something good was coming, something very nice was on the way. There was kind of a resurrection, or presence was a big part of that too. We give gifts and such, but all that is a part of the holiday time. In Diwali, they often have resolutions or new accounts or close. Christmas, there's a lot of giving, sharing. All that is taking place. And you're in the midst of that. And so analyze, why do you do that? What is that about? And one of the processes that we can engage in and talk about is that the light is necessary because it's physically dark, but it is also a symbol, isn't it? It's a symbol, and it's a part of our memory. Something is being activated when we do that. We don't just bring a tree in and put some lights on it because it's dark. That's kind of an odd way to bring light in. So there's something more. And you can probably research a lot of the traditions and the starts of what we have done. But I want you to think that there is something inside the self that responds or resonates with that there's a light that comes into us, and as it enters into us like sound, it reverberates. There's an echo. Something is coming alive again, something about ourself. And so that symbol can be many different things. And one of it is knowledge. Light is knowledge. When people have ideas, how do they show that in a graphic? Put a light bulb over their head, right? Aha, now I see the light. And so an understanding of this time is being brought back. And we kind of have that faith and hope that what we're learning and what we're doing is going to be good. It's going to be helpful. It's going to be elevated. And that sense of light is also a feeling that we have already done things. There's something happening that we are going to have a resolution on, that there's going to be a coming home or a newness. And in the aspect of the seasons, we see that, there's summer, there's autumn and winter, and there's spring. We know that there's going to be some sort of a resolution, something good, something that's going to happen after this. We just know that. It's deep inside. If we ever think about it or look at that, we recognize that there's all these cycles, nature, patterns, and all of that is happening. And so I want you to start to evaluate how you feel when you see the light and there's the celebration, because it's tapping into our myth, if you want to put it that way. Something that is true, that's happening around us, that is reaching into a deeper place that resonates with truth. We can hear some stories, and there's a nice description that I like about fables and myths and whatever. And it is that it may not have happened, but it's true. Okay, think about that for a moment. You hear a story, and it might be made up, wild characters and things like this, but it's communicating something deeper. There's a truth in that. It may not have happened, but it's true. Sometimes, what do they call that? Fables, where there's a message at the end, things like that. But that's what's happening at this time for me. And I'm asking you to think about that for yourself, that there are things that are taking place that resonate at a deep level and make you feel that you are coming back to something that you've had. And that's a little of how I want to position it, because the theme, if you want to say that we have something, is that we are living now in a situation, our life, which is memorialized by your success. Okay, and I'll say that again because it kind of encapsulates how I'm looking at the current time. Fall, going into winter, change, light, celebrations, anticipation. But we're in a situation in the world that is memorialized by your success, or your success is memorialized. That the light comes back. There's going to be something, that we're doing things that we've done before, and we're remembering how good it can be. So whatever your personal situation is, whatever you're seeing in the world, that we are now going through a time of darkness, autumn, winter, and in the world also. But we're going through that darkness with the understanding that we're going to make it through and it's going to be okay. Somehow, some way, details, we're not going to worry too much about that. But I want you to start to look, if it's okay, that echo of light, the light is success, the light is home, the light is perfection, the light are the qualities that you feel deeply about and actually might be working towards right now in your life, one way or the other. And we've got all sorts of information and issues and too much to manage. Everybody's in that situation. Too much. You have to shut things down actually to get through it. But you will get through it. Somehow, something deep inside, and if you're with the Brahma Kumaris and you've been practicing meditation, the reverberation is in the soul. in that eternal being, in that awareness, in that consciousness, in your spirit, however you want to see yourself. But you are in a place where that's going to be okay. You're going to turn on a light. You're going to recognize that it's outside, that you have to do the right things. I'm talking to Californians, I think, so you probably don't have, sub-zero daytimes. And how many of you have snow blowers? Let me ask you that. So it might be a little different for you, but that's one of the fall traditions here is, we got to make sure we have gas and that the snow blowers are there and the electric cord is ready and that they're all working order, because it'll be necessary. I don't think you go through the same things, but you might have your own winter preparation details there. Maybe, I don't know what you guys do, but good luck for winter. That's all I can say. But there's a variety of things that are happening, and we're going through that, and we're going to get into a place where the light is the memorial and the echo and the remembrance that we went through it, that we got through it, that it's going to be okay. And I want you to sit for a moment with that feeling that whatever you might be feeling now and thinking now and burdened by now or consumed by now, you're going to make it through. You are going to get through everything. Here's a little pop quiz. Lots of little pop quizzes. Is that okay? You have stuff that you're dealing with now. And I literally have to write everything down. Big projects, little projects. I have a day list and I have a month list and things that I just have to follow up on. Otherwise I'm swimming in it, but actually I'm not swimming in it because I forget it all. And so everything is fine. But then people call me and ask me things. And it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So I have to write it down. So write down what's on your mind that you have to do this weekend or Monday, okay? And you can write down the questions and do this all later. But start to think about that. And you'll have a list. You'll have 5 things at least you have to do today. You have some things tomorrow. You'll have things that you have to prepare for next week, and it consumes you. And you had the same type of a list a year ago. Did you make it through that list a year ago? Or are you still carrying the same things around? You probably dealt with that one way or the other. You might have done a better job as you look back. But you got through it, didn't you? We get through it. And if we can recognize that, there's great power in it. Just take a breath. Let me do what I can do. Let me focus on that. Let me not put so much energy into worry. But that awareness that you're going to overcome whatever is in your life now, I want you to hold on to that. And every time you see a Christmas tree, every time you see a dia, every time you see some lights on a pole or hanging overhead, I don't know if they put a lot of Christmas tree lights up. Funniest thing for me is to see Christmas lights on palm trees, Southern California maybe, or other places. Very bizarre. But wherever you might see lights, think that it is the representation of the success that you have attained in your life, and that will be there. Because one of the things, if that's kind of okay for you to recognize or understand or think some more about, used to do retreats. Unfortunately, haven't done much in the way of on-site retreats since March, almost 2 years now. Things kind of wound down, and so it's not the same to sit in front of a computer for 3 days. So that phase is there, but we used to do some workshops, activities, and the ability to think of ourselves, where we've been and what we've done, and how we might be able to put those things on paper. Think of some of the highlights in your life. Think of some of the moments when you weren't feeling so good. Think of a variety of different stuff and kind of figure out when that happened and how you felt. And actually what you can do is plot that. You know, when were you happy? What were you doing? And when were you sad? And what was the date? And it's a nice activity. And you kind of come up with something that's called a lifeline. And everything goes through a process, right? Beginning, middle, and end. And when we start to think of that, then we can recognize that life is not flat in its emotion. And you can check that. How many of you are always, excited every day about everything? It's really tiring, actually. Oh, we're gonna have breakfast. Isn't that great? Oh, the bus is out there. Isn't that great? Oh, I get to go to work and listen to that person complain again. Isn't that great? It's not all the same energy level. Moment to moment and day by day and month by month and year by year. We've got, oh my gosh, I just lost my job. What am I going to do? That's different than, oh my gosh, I just won the lottery. What am I going to do? So there's ups and downs in our lives. You can understand that. And when we start to think of that, we get into a place where I want to share something because I think it's a nice example for us. And if I can show you in the magic of technology here, you might be able to see something that's called a product. Oh, here we go. That's not the right thing, is it? Let's try this again. I'm usually pretty good at this. Are you seeing something that's called a product market lifestyle phases? I don't see you anymore, so I need a.
Yes,
Yes,
we
we
are.
are seeing
Okay.
that. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And you're welcome to chat and things like this. But this is kind of like a lifeline also, okay? And it's a lifeline, that they have for things, but it works for everything. And using this analogy and this example, product market, there's a startup, enters growth, reaches maturity, and then plateaus, okay? And then decline. And you can measure these things, output per revenue and time. This is time, this is the return. And here, diminishing returns. And this is often used for companies. This is often used for products. And it's also used for seasons, kind of like to put nature in there sometimes. And when we have it, looking at spring, it starts, kind of pushing through here, the ice and the snow. It starts kind of small and grows, and then it kind of reaches that state where there's not much growth anymore for trees in that way. They've got their leaves, they kind of burst up in here, and then they're mature. And then they just give oxygen, and they do what they want to do. And then there's no more growth. That's the end. They've peaked. And then they lose their leaves and they come down. Okay? And then so it's a cycle of nature, it's a cycle of business, and it's a cycle sometimes of life. We have a beginning, we grow, we kind of mature, and then there's a decline. And if you want to see something else, you can put these together, okay? And this process of seeing something and ending, something else comes. And what this has to do with, and this example is about photography, film. But there was a time when there weren't cameras. And then it took a long time for them to develop and get excited. And I guess they had these flash, if you see the old movies where they take pictures and they put the hood over them and they have a flash. Don't see too many of those around anymore. And as a matter of fact, for film photography in this example, it starts and gets very busy. And then there's a, very much a top, a peak. And you can ask yourself, when's the last time you touched film, bought film, had it developed? Because everything reaches a peak. It's not a growth anymore. And then it starts to fade. Remember that fading part? And then digital came along. And I wasn't one of the first ones, you know, it's like cameras and they changed. They changed every 6 months, grew very fast. And now they're getting to kind of reaching a state where the improvements aren't so much. And so every time there's a peak, there seems to be something else coming. And so these S-curves have beginning, middle, end. And this area here between old and new is that change area where we go through huge disruptions. In film, you can't buy film anymore. Maybe you can. Have to order it online somewhere. It's probably expensive. I don't know. I haven't investigated it in years. I miss those little film cases, the black ones with the top, because they were great for quarters, and I keep that in my car for parking meters. But actually now parking meters, you have to use a credit card or whatever. All sorts of changes taking place. And if you hold on too long to an old product, it goes down. And if you come in too early, there's a lot of disruption. So there's this process of change that's going on. And so hoping that this picture makes some sense, and I'll come back. We can do that again if you want to. But when you look at that, life is full of these lifeline S-curves, changes, growth, decays, deaths. Lots of things happen. There's a death of film. I'll give you my work experience. That I got a job out of college, not sure what I did, and could never explain to anybody exactly what it was that I did. Worked as an engineering consultant for an insurance company for property insurance. And that grew and I learned, and you know, there was a curve and kind of got good at it, or good enough at it, I should say. And the company that I worked for got bought out by a company called General Electric, GE. And at that time, they were coming out of a period where Jack Welch was the CEO. And he made a lot of money and expanded a lot and cut jobs, did all sorts of stuff. And it was supposedly one of the best companies in corporate America in the 90s. Okay. And we got bought out by them. And so General Electric, GE, was a part of it. But they got too big, couldn't manage it, and did some things that caused them problems. One was the insurance, and that was the division I was in. And the other was in finance, GE Finance, and they got caught up in the housing and had some problems. And most recently, a couple of years ago, they were booted out of the S&P, not S&P, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, because it wasn't the stock that was there. It was declining. It was losing money. And just recently, they decided that they were going to split up into 3 divisions: aerospace, medical, and something else. But you can kind of see that General Electric, they invented this company that started with the light bulb, how long it was. And it had a long run, and it expanded and probably had lots of little S-curves, but it's reaching its end. One of the major companies in the United States manufacturing history is breaking up. They'll probably, if you buy anything GE, they've sold the name. You know, GE appliance, GE dishwasher, somebody else is making that. They just put the name on it. It's not them. And so there's an S curve there, and they're declining, and so something else is taking its place. You know, so there are new things. I see that, and you know, everywhere you look, you can see this transformation, this change. Something is fading, malls, something else is coming along, online shopping. Okay, so wherever you look, everything is going through a beginning, a middle, or an end, or a new beginning and another middle and an end. It happens in our day, it happens in our life, it happens in nature, it happens in the world. There's just always change. Something is always happening. And mention that and kind of highlight that and focus in on that so that you recognize that you can't say, I'm going to be happy when this happens. Postpone anything. You can't. You shouldn't postpone. Let me put it that way. My advice is don't postpone feeling good until something happens, because it might happen, but something's going to happen after that too. And so you're in a sea change, you're in a process of moving forward and things happening. So thinking that, when I get this title, or I get this money, or I get this retirement, or when this happens, then something else is going to happen. That is going to be problematic for you. Problematic for anybody if you postpone to feel a certain way, because it's not going to be steady state. I want you to recognize that, and if you want to, go to the ocean. You all have my permission this weekend to drive to the ocean and watch the ocean. Stand there and look at it, because it's going to come to you in waves. There's going to be a flood of energy, wave, water, and you'll get splashed if you're too close, and then it's going to go back out. And then it's going to come back in, it's going to go back out. So you need to be aware of that exchange of energy and know that that's going to be what happens in life too. That there's going to be a flow, there's going to be an ebb, it's back and forth. And you shouldn't think, this would be my advice. You get free advice from me, okay? Don't wait for the ocean to be calm to be happy, right? It's just, if you want to, that's fine, but I would recommend you don't do that, that you choose to be happy and watch the waves come in and say, oh, here's a big one, isn't that great? Oh, now it's going out, it's quiet, okay? But to think that it's going to be calm and everything's going to be under control and then you can, walk across it or something like that, it's not going to happen. That's my experience. It's true. So if you can think about that, that's happening in our life also. You've had some highs and you've had some lows. But what is that understanding about the S curve and our lifeline is that it changes. We've had new ideas, we've had excitement, and we've had to let go of things. And you've had S curves. You've had changes in your lives. And I want you to think about some of those now. And some of them that might be as simple like learning to ride a bicycle. Okay, if you ever learned to ride a bicycle or something that you learned, even to hold a pencil. Okay, some of you probably know what pencils are, and you might have used some in the past year. Not many people do these days, right? They kind of text their messages and notes and a variety of things. But if you learned to bicycle, when you first started, you were very bad. Okay, you need to learn how to balance. You might have had someone guide you. You could have had training wheels on it. And so there was this kind of low experience results from that. Your new product was learning to learn the bicycle and you fell off, most likely. And if you have a good memory, you might remember, I do anyway, crashing into a bush and getting cut and all sorts of things. It's always good to get a bike with brakes. That would be my advice for you too, free advice. Get a bicycle that has brakes. And then after you figured it out, there was this rapid growth. And then, the bicycle is one thing, pencil is something else, but you kind of move on from those sometimes. They're coming back. Now you're probably driving if you move around. I hope your bicycle friendly town is there, but there's a lot of things where we weren't very good. We got very good and we kind of do something else also. Simple life process is games. How many of you have ever played the game of checkers? Okay, did you ever play that? A few people. Okay, you played checkers when you're younger, probably somewhere between 5 and 10. Okay, maybe could be a little longer, but then most of us, or the people that I know, stop playing checkers. You might play checkers again if you have kids or grandkids or something. But I'm going to make a wager that none of you have gone to a let's play checker party on a Saturday night in the past year. You haven't done anything in the last year, so that's not totally fair. But something about it is it's an S curve. You started, you learned, you weren't very good. You probably got beat all the time. You learned some strategies. You kind of figured it out. And when you reached a peak, you lost interest. Something else came along. Even that is an S curve of a beginning, middle, and end. Hope that makes some sense. That your life is full of beginnings, new things, struggles, overcoming, recognizing, developing, and kind of mastering it. And at that time of mastering, it's something happens. Oftentimes we let go of it. There's a decay and we move to something else. A lot of children in the United States, and this is old thinking, I don't know what they do now, but they used to go to chess after checkers. And now video games, I'm not in that. I don't know it. So maybe they start with Donkey Kong or Pong, and then they go to some sort of other things. But there's probably a life cycle of S curve of video games too, right? You can plot that out for yourself. But what happens in all of these things, a new job or high school, lots of different things. But think about some of the S curves in your life, where there's a beginning and end. And somehow you've transitioned from one to the other very easily. How many of you are sitting at home now, this weekend, with a checkerboard in front of you saying, oh, there's no one to play with, it's too bad, and you let go of it, didn't you? Okay. Oh, how come nobody wants to come to be with me? We could play checkers all night. This could be fun. It's so much good. I'm so good. Probably not the life situation you're in, is it? That sense of, okay, we have to let go. Whether we have to let go or we choose to let go, there's that process. And so you have all of those. And it also is true on how we feel. Sometimes, how come I don't have any friends? I feel down. Sometimes, oh, I'm not very good at my job. I feel down. But in all of those S curves in our life, you made it through. You made it to today. You've made it to now. And one of the homework tasks that I'd like you to think about is in those dark days, in those down times, in those transitional, when something is dying and something's new and there's a lot of chaos, what did you do to get through that transition? What enabled you? What is your qualities? What are your strengths? What capacities did you use and do you have that helped you move through that? Because somehow you transitioned, you changed, you moved forward. And I want you to think, was it a knowledge and awareness? Was it a determination? Was it patience? Was it courage? And all the S curves that you can think of, I'd like you to go back and visit those, revisit those. What was happening? What did I reach into? What did I access that helped me get through the change, the dark times, the low points, the new times, however you want to position that? And think, just pick one right now. We'll kind of pause and reflect on that. If there was a time when things were new, difficult, changing, transitional, letting go of something, can you see that? Can you picture that? And can you connect to yourself in what it was that made you move forward? Because you've been successful a lot, regularly. And I want you to start to look at your success and the qualities that you might have, that you must have, that you did use to get through all that change. And that the echo of light is that experience of success. You have gotten through a lot of things on a deep level. What gives you power and energy? I got one response, I think. I appreciate that. Not necessary, but endurance. Okay? A determination, an ability to do that. And when you start to recognize that you have qualities, powers, abilities, talents, however you want to categorize it, start to focus in on that. Start to see how great you are, what you've accomplished. And when we start to recognize that, then it's not just to say, you know, I've gone through this, I've done this, but I'm hoping your lives don't end today, truly. And that there's another part of your lifeline that extends into the future. And with that being said, you've got a future, you've got qualities, you know that there'll be change. One of the things that will help us is to ask the question, what do you want? What is your vision for yourself? What is it that you would like for self, or family, for work, for any category that you want? And when we start to have that process of knowing that there's change, what do I want to change to? How do I want to move in my life towards something? We've got some plants in the garden, some vines, and they just go all over the place, you know? And it looks like that. And if you want something that looks like it's grown in all directions, like the zucchini and these beans and whatever we got, they crawl all over each other. It's kind of a mess, but it's okay. And we still get some vegetables out of that. But I've also gone by some gardens where they have the right fence and they grow up these strings, and it's very orderly and it's very easy to pick things, and it's a different result in the way of amount of vegetables. Ours, the birds love it because they can hide. They're just all over it. The other ones, you get more tomatoes and more beans and more of everything. So, you know, I'm the one who weeds. We got lots of people who design at Harmony House. We're willing to put things in, but not too many weeders. So if you're good at weeds and you happen to be in New York in the summertime, let me know. Maybe you can practice on your own garden, but what kind of life do you want? And so when we start to think of the qualities that we have, the success that is involved in that process, that's a big question. What do you want? How do you see it? Can you envision it? And therefore, part of what we need to do on many levels, and I'm talking mostly of superficial or mundane or physical, do you have a specific goal? If you see that you want to be competent and that you have a certain lifestyle, what do you have to do to get that? And then there's a whole process that is wonderful. You have to have a goal. Okay, if I want to have a house, I need to have a job, I need to afford so much, I want to do this work, okay, then start doing it. How are you going to do it? And what can you do today? I find it very good to have a plan for each day, personally. Okay, at 1:30 for me, San Francisco Zoom call, Sacramento Zoom call. Okay. I had to write that down. It's 10:30 for you. It was 10:30. Now we've wandered a little longer. It's okay. I have to write it down, and then I accomplish it. And at the end of the day, I have a very great feeling of satisfaction because I hold a piece of paper with things that were written and then crossed out. It's a big mess. But that means that I did the things that I wanted to do because, frankly, I don't remember anymore. Okay, things kind of orbit through my mind and it happens, and I'm distracted. All sorts of stuff is going on. So personally, if I don't write it down, it doesn't get done. If it's not in my inbox, I don't see it. I'm just, it flashes away. Very simple. And so in order to get to what I envision, the goals that I want, I have to make a plan, action plan. And so there's daily, there's short term, there's long term. All of that's a big part of how we can accomplish something. And kind of coming back to that original kind of theme, that the situation that we're in is going to be successful. Maybe not in the way we envision it, but kind of on a broader scale, on the larger, deeper scale, that I am someone who has got a vision of what is possible. And I'll lay on you some of those qualities: peace, love, happiness, joy, contentment. That those are some of the main motivating factors in our lives, in the world. And there's a lot of people now in darkness, don't have that, don't know about it, don't know how to get it, trying to support themselves in an inaccurate way, insufficient way, actually in a harmful way. And so the echo of light is that you have been there, you have experienced those qualities, metaphysical, spiritual, transcendent, and that if we start to have a vision of coming back to that and make a plan, that happens. We all have that awareness that those qualities are at the foundation of our desires. And you can ask the question to yourself, what do you want? And then how will that make you feel? And keep asking and keep asking. Okay, what do you want? Oh, I want a new car. Well, why do you want a new car? Well, it'll make me feel good. Well, do you want to feel good? Yes. Okay, it's always going to come to a spiritual quality. Okay, I want to have new shoes. Why do you want new shoes? Well, they're in fashion and I want to be a part of that group. How are you going to feel when you're part of that group? Well, that's going to make me happy. So they kind of translate that the shoes or the cars or the object is going to bring in a spiritual quality. But I want you to start to see if you can practice going straight to that spiritual quality, the light that you are, the light that you've had, that awareness of true self, true nature, true qualities. And if we start to think about what we want and who we are, then we're starting to bring back that light that we had. Everybody I know wants something good in their lives. Even people who misbehave, they kind of often, most times, do it because they're looking for some sort of spiritual result. I did this because I wanted money, and I did this because the money was going to make me feel a certain way. That's not the way I'm recommending you do things. But to spend some time and recognize that we actually can access spiritual qualities in our mind, in our being, and then it comes into our lives and then it grows. When we have that awareness that I can create something, I am always going through a process of change. There's S-curves. And so let me start to, if you haven't already, begin practicing bringing back light inside myself. light, in this case, in this specific moment, not just the sun, like on Ashutas's face, but it is that quality of light, of knowledge, awareness, the peace, the love, the happiness. And so the echo of light is remembering that that's our true nature. That's our true self. And why not have the vision of ourselves with all of that? Why not know that holding on to old ways might be time to let go of those and start thinking of a new way of growing the qualities that I want, the behaviors that I want, the actions that I want. And if you've been doing a lot with the Brahma Kumaris, you probably know that everything starts with our thoughts. Then it comes into our words, and then our actions, and then our lives. And so that awareness that I had this quality, I had this light, I had this knowledge, I had these experiences, and that belief and recognition through your own history that you have qualities that will allow you to succeed and get back to that again. You have gone through lots of change, you have come through that well, you have qualities that will bring you there. And when you align that with having a vision for yourself, you can start make plans, actions, steps to get there. And obviously, that's what will happen. I do believe that spring will come again here. I have great faith in that. And I do believe that we as human beings, as spiritual beings, as those interested in spiritual concepts, will take the steps necessary to retrieve that, to have that again. I'm going to pause just for a minute there and feel I've said lots of words, and hoping that you've been following along. Because I'm going to change a little direction here, and then we'll chat, if that's okay. Any questions or comments or things like this, because it makes it sound like it's not going to be without some sort of challenge. Okay, and in the best way, all of us have challenges. Okay, that there are things in our ways, and as you start to envision what you want, as you start to realize, as you start to plan for that, there might be things that interfere, get in the way, keep you from attaining easily what you want. And that's a good time to also check in. What are my patterns that I have that might be inhibiting me, hurting me, limiting me, making it harder for me to get what I want? And if we start to see ourselves and observe ourselves, there's a process that we have here at the Brahma Kumaris and probably around the world. I don't think we own it, but seeing ourselves in a detached way. Can you observe your behavior, not from your point of view and justify it and build it up and say I'm right and these things, but from an outsider's point of view? What am I doing that causes people to be upset? What am I doing that chases people away? What am I doing that seems to sabotage the things that I want to do? Do I have patterns? And again, I'm kind of engineering quantitative. Things make some sense when you put it down. But check, why am I not so happy? Why am I not peaceful? And then check, where do you spend your time? What do you think about? What's in your mind? Who do you interact with? What is the supports that you have? Are you able to recognize that and put a brake on it? There's all sorts of ways that we can start to identify these things. And identifying our own behaviors, our own inner obstacles is a huge process. And if you can make a friend who you trust and is honest and give you feedback, that's a real treasure also. Someone who might say, every time we talk, you seem to interrupt me. Why is that? Every time we're together, you always seem to be shouting. Why is that? And that isn't to pick on you, but to highlight that sometimes we're not aware of our own patterns, behaviors, ways of being. What comes to mind now is a friend a long time ago. And she grew up in a situation where she was kind of in an overbearing, had overbearing parents, let's say. And in order to be heard, she would always have to speak loudly. And that was her pattern. In Brahma Kumari speak, that was her sanskar. And so she felt that she was timid and small and, unprepared. And that's how she felt about herself. But to everybody around her, she was loud and she was, very domineering. Because in order just to be heard, that's how she had to behave. And so she thought she was just communicating to be heard, but everybody around her was afraid to even interact with her. And so the reality of what was presented versus her own experience were wildly different. And when she had a friend who told her that, kind of like, oh, really? Then she could work on it. Then she could start to address that limitation, that barrier, that obstacle, that personality trait that kept her from being who she wanted to be. And so looking at ourself, detached observer, or having a friend who can comment in a way that is going to be appreciated. There's different ways to do that, Sometimes people will point out your shortcomings to make you feel bad and for them to feel good. But if you can find someone who is really concerned about your well-being, spiritual growth, that's a treasure. That's why it's kind of weird for Zoom, because meditation centers for the Brahma Kumaris play that part a lot of times. We get together, we get to know each other, and we get to interact. So we're kind of missing that. Some of us are anyway. Some of us are pretty happy just to stay at home and be able to walk to the refrigerator during workshops and stuff like that. Variety of people, So having that awareness of looking at the self and seeing and wanting to change and knowing that we've had all that and it's coming back again. I believe that the memorials of this time are the reflections of what we've attained, what we have, and are so nice because they're reminders of how we can be. And so that this is a time for us to look at the light and feel that there's that energy that's beneficial because it echoes from a source of truth and power, perfection, and completion. And I'm going to pause here or stop here and see if there's any comments, questions, feedbacks, thoughts, exclamations, clapping. If you wanted to offer me a drink, well, that was very generous. Thank you. We could take a little change here. So I see some green hands going up. I guess, Valerie, I'm going to count on you to see what people might want to say or comment. There's a chat, there's a Q&A, I think. There wasn't a Q&A. But how are you doing? What did you hear? What can you use? What should we do next? And Valerie, I don't read lips so well, but
right. Okay. Brother, you touched on everything that I needed to hear and that I needed to know at this point. And I love that story, how you explain the S-curve and what that means and how I need to change and what qualities in order to succeed. I mean, I have to identify them. And you're talking a lot about how to identify things that will make me successful or make things happen or change. Amazing what you've just shared and how things can get in the way. We don't really realize how much is going on how you've spoken, there's a process happening all the time, constantly, with every thought, with every action, with every to-do list. There's a process, and that S curve is a big curve. Yeah. Thank you so much, Brother Erik. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Are there others? It's okay.
Om Shanti, Erik Bhai, Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Yes, actually, with the S curve, you got me some memories because I was working with Motorola, and that was something they introduced by the management, the S curve, which is the famous S curve in America, actually.
Yeah.
And when you're doing the reliability testing and the long term, the S curves are introduced by the quality metrics, and yeah, I mean, it is right on the top of the management. When they want to look at certain things, they look at the S curve in terms of the shelf life to the product time to market. But that's the management per se. But you have explained it very beautifully in terms of, how it needs to be adopted in our day-to-day life, in a routine, and how we need to maintain our own quality metrics with self-checking. I think it's a nice tool, and yeah, more insight towards it. Nice to actually. Usually, it's in the college MBAs, but you have brought it up, so you made it so easy for people to understand that it's still like a lot of lessons to be learned in the learning curve process.
Great. Shanti.
Om Shanti, Brother Erik.
Anything?
I really enjoyed how you touched on everything that we want is usually related to spirituality. Even if it's a material, at the end of the day, the root of it is a spiritual reason and one of the 7 qualities that we seek. So thank you so much for touching on that. I really enjoyed that part.
Great. Yeah. It's wonderful to be able to take some things and apply it in our life and see the benefit in that. So wonderful. Good.
Can you also just clarify, when you look at the S, how does that shape work?
How does that shape work? Okay.
Because you've got that curve and it comes down and it comes up.
Yeah.
So vertical or a
Um,
horizontal?
let me bring it back. I can figure out how to do that.
Probably Erik Bhai needs a whiteboard.
Well, I'm going to use this one. But oftentimes this is just missing a little bit, and this is showing at the end here, but it often starts, any S-curve, any process, any kind of event, we're not very good at it, and tends to go down and then goes up and then has this peak and then comes down and declines, and then it kind of goes to a death or an end. And at this time, there's usually another one that starts, okay? And so this would come down and this starts and goes this way. I'm hoping I'm hearing your question right.
You are.
But that process of beginning and then growth and then peaking and then no more growth, and let's go checkers again, simple there. We start and we try to learn and we don't, where's the board and how do these go black and red and they move this way and then king me. And then you kind of learn and then you play and you become very good. But there's a time in checkers or anything, according to this, where you don't learn much anymore. You don't grow anymore. You've kind of saturated the market. And this is oftentimes in a stock market where people want to get out, because it's going to decline typically. This is where people want to buy into a stock. This is where things happen. And then I haven't heard of Motorola for a long time. They used to be the best in their communications devices, but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore, or GE, then there's a decline. And it's going to lose what it had. And if you look at time, effort, money, and return, the return over time declines. And so one of the things that you've probably seen is your behaviors have changed. Times you've, tried to do things and you learn that what you're doing and how you've been relating, you need to grow. If you've been in a relationship with children, how you work with them and how you interact with them, you can't treat them the same way. You have to grow and you have to change because they're changing. And so you have to respond to that. So in a lot of ways, just because we're good at something doesn't mean that we can continue to do that and get the same results. There's another curve that I don't have here.
So Eric, I have a question on this. Is related to GAN that we are right now like reaching maturity. I think I'm actually identifying myself. I won't speak for someone else, but I see myself that I'm at the point where I'm at diminishing returns, but getting above diminishing returns is towards maturity in when I take GAN. But do you think at some point the GAN will plateau? Like too much of knowledge that we are absorbing, journeying, and I think we could go far beyond rather being at plateau and then go with the decline, right? I mean, there should be a growth that
there should be a growth. And what I would do if we're going to speak specifically about our spiritual development is that your way of learning can plateau.
Yes.
If you just go and listen to the Merle or a morning class and do just the basic fundamental minimums, you're going to reach a plateau.
Right.
And then you're going to find that, I'm kind of getting tired. There's nothing new. And you have to be the instrument of change to somehow do something new, whether that's teaching, whether that's writing a book, whether that's doing service, whether that, I don't know. But if you just stay as a student, you will reach a plateau. And so how do you want to do it? Do you want to write poetry? Do you want to do something else? Do you want to make videos? You have to do something new because over time there will be a decline. Does that make some sense? The knowledge is unlimited. The opportunities are unlimited.
Yes.
In the business world, there are billions of opportunities. And so, new companies are always looking to grow. How do we grow? If you stay with what you're doing over time, it will plateau and decline. And so the same is going to be true on a spiritual level. What are you doing new that brings excitement, that brings energy, that brings a new way of experiencing an unlimited ocean of possibilities?
Yes,
there is a saying that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
There you go.
So that's what it is. And I really like the way you've covered change. Sometimes in the back burner, we know change is important, change is inevitable, but sometimes we need the reiteration. And I think what you've done, you have reiterated that very well and brought about how important change is. I don't know if you've read a book, but there's a book called Who Moved My Cheese?
Oh, yeah.
Which is a great book on just about change.
Yeah, who moved my cheese? What happened? I had it set. I knew what I was doing. And we got given that book when we transitioned from one management team to another, that it's not going to be the same. And if you continue to do the same thing and everybody's moved along, you're going to fall behind. You're not going to be able to do what is necessary in the current environment. And on a spiritual level, that's what we have to do also. It's very easy, and you can fall into that trap of getting bored. Okay? Getting bored of being happy. It seems a little odd. But if you recognize that in our nature as a human being, we like change, we like newness, we like challenge. We don't want to lose, but we don't want it to be flatline, boring, that's death. In our nature. And you can ask yourself, would you like to play checkers every night for the next month with, pick anybody? It'll be fun the first night, it'll be fun, but no, you want to do something else. And the same is true on growing spiritually. Do I just want to read this by myself? Do I just want to listen to the same thing? How can I create something new, different, and move the energy and grow and have other experiences? And part of our process, for me anyway, is how can I bring my spiritual understanding into my life situations and apply that. That's a huge opportunity and challenge and a way. How can I be peaceful in a situation that's not peaceful? Instead of complaining, how come nobody at work likes me and how come they're doing this and nobody listens to me and this is, and they're all kind of, that's a perfect environment to see how powerful you can become.
And Baba said this in many Murlis too, you know, to bring in newness.
Yeah.
I think we hear that Murli, especially around the New Year's time, we hear those in the Murlis coming up, bring in newness to the same thing.
Yes, exactly right. You know, the newness is not necessarily external. It's not that it's going to be somebody else's responsibility, but how can you make your life so that there's a flow of energy and you are actually happy to wake up?
And brother, the best example is the nature, how you related to it. And sometimes I write poetry or I observe nature, how the seasons are changing right now. My favorite pastime is to see the changing colors of the leaves. Like they're so beautiful, like orange and burgundy color, and so beautiful watching them. And then, so that's the one of the things that inspire me in my downtime. So I watch how during sunset the things change, and during seasons how the change is there. So that's the best example, one of which you gave. When you started the lecture with the eclipse, you caught my attention because I saw the eclipse at like full moon at 9:30, and then I saw at 11:30 the eclipse moon, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. And so.
I wish I could get the job of just watching the moon. If anybody knows of an opening that pays well, I feel very qualified for that. Oh, look at
observatory. You have to be in an observatory to watch the moon eclipse. So any observatory would offer that. Yeah.
I'll check it out. That will be my newness.
So actually, I like that point of that plateau where you have, I'm just thinking about the Devic Sanskar, like a golden age Sanskar that connects to that area where you don't feel bored. And that as being a student, like, you know, like as you rightly mentioned, the poetry, the photography, the painting, there's some in the inside quality of the soul that needs to emerge, that has to have with the positive vibration, with, you know, not feeling the external disturbance and the negatives, and you have your own self, you know, the positive light that's emanating, the vibration that's emanating, that also goes to Paramdham. So I like that. That's a very good S-curve explanation. I never even thought somebody would explain me this way, but thank you, Erik. That's a lot. I mean, for me,
Hansaben, I want you to listen very closely, because each of the students and contacts here is going to either paint a picture or write a poem or create something, and they're going to wrap that up. And for Christmas, you're going to have a swap. Everybody's going to wrap up their poem or their picture or their spiritual creation, wrap it up, and they're going to bring boxes and put it under a tree in the center.
Yes.
And they're going to take away somebody else's.
Yes.
That's what's going to happen. And I want to see pictures of that. Okay.
Sure. We will invite you again. No problem.
I want to see the pictures of the poems. Or
so are we all ready to do the homework?
Actually, I think
everybody ready to do the homework that Erik Bhai suggested.
You've got a month. You've got a month. More than a month.
We all have a 1 month. Okay. Please, you know, if you cannot turn on your video, at least turn on your audio and say, yes, we will be doing this homework.
Yeah. And you
think Om Shanti. Baba has always taught us to say Haji. So
yes,
Haji.
Very good. So who will be coordinating that? Bharat Bhai, Ashutosh Bhai, Dol Bhai, who will be coordinating? Johnny Ben?
Valerie Ben will be coordinating. How about Valerie?
Okay. Valerie Ben, you will be Valerie Ben will be in the Christmas time in Fiji, but she can do that. Valerie Ben, you and Bharat Bhai's team, okay? How about that?
We can talk about it.
Yes, right.
I loved Vandana's thing of the leaves. You know, that was so beautiful, Vandana, because that's such a very inspirational thing to be watching, and how they change. Beautiful. Mm-hmm.
We're kind of through the leaves time here, so
right.
It's bare trees.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no, we really appreciate this homework, and everybody will do it, and we will invite you again. No problem.
okay.
Maybe you can come physically here, Brother Erik.
I owe you a trip. That's true.
brother
And you
Erik.
never know, it can be sooner. Huh?
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
we never get out of the leaf season. It's leaf season all year round. Either
Right,
it is
well,
green leaves, it could be no leaves, it could be colorful leaves, but there is leaves.
okay. No,
Well,
we're
talking of
entering
leaves,
into
I'm surrounded by leaves.
see the branches clearly time here. So, well,
Thank you so much. It was so wonderful.
it's
We
very
all
good.
had
And
a really good time.
thank you for coming on and chatting and being a part of it.
Yes.
The interaction is important. So I appreciate the opportunity to be with you and to be able to see you and interact. That's
Yeah.
a treasure for me.
Sure.
That's
So
good.
can we have some meditation with you, brother?
Sure. Let's see what we can do.
All right.
So,
So we all will be enjoying the meditation with Brother Erik now. So please make
Beautiful.
yourself comfortable and get ready for that journey.
see what we can do. I always like to take a deep breath, so I invite you to do that also. Take a deep breath, wiggle in your chair to get comfortable if you're not. And if we're gonna have a little music, that's great. If not, that's okay. And then both the voice and the music will come through. But I want you to see yourself in a very clean home. And in your home, turn on the lights, decorate it with lights, put a tree, put the dia, and feel the power of light. And bring that feeling of an awareness, of knowledge, and your perfection into your awareness. And bring that feeling inside, where you think, where you reside, the spiritual being. Because we are remembering that we're coming through a time of change, and it's a great opportunity to grow and to overcome any darkness in our life. We move through seasons, we move through change, and see yourself again being successful. Hold on to that awareness that as a being going through time, my nature is to enjoy the change and to find new ways to experience the truth, the knowledge, the light of my true self. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you so much, brother.
Shanti, Erik Bhai, Om Shanti. Thank you.
So wonderful.
Mr. Johnny, are you there? You want to make any final comments?
Well, I think all the lovely comments have already been made. And so we
Waiting
want
for yours, Johnny Ben.
Yeah, we want to thank Erik Bhai so much. This was so powerful to this S curve, the way you explained it. It's in life, the only thing that is consistent is change and how we respond to it. So thank you so much. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, my pleasure. Thanks for asking and thanks for joining. And thanks for using it. And I can't wait to see what Christmas in Sacramento Center looks like.
Thank you,
Yeah.
brother.
One
Thanks,
of the
Aunt.
thing is, one of the thing we all will be, actually I personally also like to always see the full moon. So we will make sure that before
Very
Christmas, there will be one full moon and we all will be watching it. And we will
Very
make
good.
a note of it.
Very good.
Actually, in the past, certain years back, we used to do full moon night meditation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can go dance, you can go light a fire, you can howl, you do anything you want.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Exactly right. So
Shanti,
that will be one of the things will be feather on the cake, kind of, yes.
I wanted to say the advice you gave us about don't wait to be happy until the ocean is calm. I'm gonna be using that a lot because we tend to wait to be happy, like thinking, oh, we're gonna get there or we're gonna receive, like be in that position and be happy. But I'm gonna be using that a lot. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Figure out how to see something good every moment. It's there.
Yes.
Thank you, brother. You already practically brought the newness. Thank you
Great.
so much.
Yes.
Om Shanti.
Om
I'd like to say
Shanti.
only thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
So
Thank you,
wonderful,
brother.
brother
Thank you
Erik.
so much.
Okay.
Om
Thank you.
Shanti.
You will be here with us in a subtle form. Tomorrow we are doing early Thanksgiving. So you
Excellent.
will be here in a subtle form, okay?
Thanksgiving, light a candle. I'll be there.
Yes, sure.
Oh, so sweet, brother Erik.
Bye-bye.
Om Shanti.
There
Thank you.
is change.
Shanti,
What do I
sister.
want?
Om Shanti.
Thank you.
Thank you for so many wonderful points
Very welcome. All
for
right.
change.
Bye-bye.
Om Shanti, everyone. Now we all will be dancing, getting ready our Thanksgiving meal, and tomorrow we'll see you all also. So whoever is coming to get ready today, welcome. And those who are coming tomorrow also welcome. Tomorrow 10 o'clock, all are welcome. Okay, 9:30. Om Shanti, Om
Om
Shanti.
Om
Shanti.
Shanti,
Thank you,
sister. Thank
Hansapan.
you.
Thank you so much for brother Erik. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Excellent.